What are rock platforms? Rock platforms are large flat rocks or intertidal reefs that form on the edge of beaches. They form from the erosion factor from waves. Waves slam into rocks, which cause the air in between the rocks to put pressure on the rocks. This forms a cave, and as you can see in the diagram, the cave's top eventually collapses. The rock platform I'm informing you about is located at the southern part of Maroubra Beach in Sydney. The size of a rock platform varies. No rock platform is the same. This one is approximately 50 metres out to sea and 100 metres wide. The erosion factor and tide factor determines the size of a rock platform. If the tide is low, then the rock platform is portrayed a lot larger, and if the tide is high, then it appears smaller. Rock platforms are slowly being eroded due to the erosion from salt, wind, and the waves. The altitude of a rock platform is at sea level or around 8 metres higher than sea level. It generally changes due to the tides. This specific rock platform has a longitude of 151.24437.278 and a latitude of -33.944332985. An oceanic rock platform is an extremely unstable environment and is one of the harshest environments. It has high salinity levels, low salinity levels, and high and low temperatures and constant abuse from pounding waves. I will elaborate in question 2. There are 3 factors that make rock platforms such a unique and dangerous place to live in. There is the water distribution, the waves, and the predators. The first 2 factors are highly reliant on the weather. Being in a coastal region, water distribution isn't a problem. The major problem is water quality. In winter, the precipitation levels rise and storms rise. This means that fresh water is placed in rock pools and crevices. This means the salinity levels inside rock pools and crevices drop, which is very dangerous for all the organisms living inside those rock pools and crevices. It's also colder, so the temperature also drops. There is a large pattern between temperature and the salinity levels inside the rock pools. In summer, it is the complete opposite. The temperatures rise to a scorching heat, causing the water to evaporate. This leaves a lot of salt behind, and including the salt from the sea spray, the salinity levels rise so much. This is another extreme, and all the organisms living in the rock pool have developed adaptations to counteract both of these problems. I filmed this on a rainy day, so as you can see, there is a lot of fresh water inside the rock pools. There is not a lot of water movement from waves because it's a lot higher up, so it's a really hostile environment. There aren't many organisms living in there, besides little barnacles. Spring and autumn are the worst because there is a randomness between too hot and too cold, and large storm and no storm. This places stress on the animals because they can't really prepare for what's coming. So as you can see, this is just a cycle that the animals have to go through every day. Waves. Waves smash organisms in their habitats, but it has its benefits. Waves bring in sediment and dead organisms from the ocean and reefs. During large storms, the bottom of the ocean is stirred up, and large amounts of food are then delivered. So this love-hate relationship pays off. Predators. The predators here aren't the largest of all, but 24/7 there is a constant threat of death. During the daytime, birds are the killer, walking around on rocks and boulders looking for an exposed treat. Many seabirds try to scrape the mollusks or other shelled animals. They also attack crabs and other small animals that are basically defenseless against their large and powerful beaks. There's a bit of humour in one case. This red-cone snail hunts all these barnacles and kills them in slow motion. It takes 6 hours to kill one barnacle. At night time, larger black fish and octopuses come out to feed on seaweed and smaller prey. Algae is the most common organism. Because of the shallow water, they can get this energy from the sun using photosynthesis. They're also protected from being blown into the ocean or being taken down into the depths of the ocean. So rock platforms are always covered with algae. There are around 5 main types of algae. There's brown algae, green algae, Neptune's necklace, coralline algae, and all the rocks are continuously covered with microscopic algae, which all the barnacles and mollusks use to suck off the rocks for food. Many of the animals benefit from the algae. Using commensalism, they form a relationship where they benefit from the algae and the algae doesn't suffer at all. The types of rocks are extremely important. There are 2 main types of rocks at a rock platform. There is basalt and there is sandstone. The one I am doing the documentary on is a mixture of 2. Basalt is a lot more brittle than all the other types of rock. This forms the crevices and the rock pools that you see all the way around. Sandstone is a lot stronger, and this is all the flat parts that you see all on the rock platforms. They are mainly eroded from the wind. Some of them can prove to be nice and pretty from all the wind erosion, as you can see in this photo here. As you know, the weather affects the rock platforms, and as global warming increases, the weather patterns are becoming a lot more extreme. So this places a lot more stress on the organisms that live inside the water. An increase in heat means that the glaciers will melt and that the sea levels will rise, meaning that the average low tide will be a lot higher in the next few years. This could improve biodiversity as more water is covering the rocks, but waves are then higher, which could prove to be deadly to animals that aren't used to such power. One of the intentional human impacts was the harvesting of conjovoy plants for fishing. These animals filter the ocean and stop too much algae from coming into the waters of the rock platform. No one really knew how valuable these conjovoy were. Another intentional threat is rubbish. People leave their rubbish along the rock platforms all the time, especially when someone has had a big night out, drinking or taking drugs or something like that. Population growth, which is increasing, means that rubbish is also increasing along the beaches of Australia. Our physical presence, along with our pets being there, is another major problem. Us treading on shells and other organisms can cause them to die or become injured. Even me walking around is alarming enough. Here are some of the things that are being undertaken to improve the quality of our rock platforms and all the organisms that are living there. The Aboriginals who used to live there before Captain Cook arrived used to take only what they needed and kept the rock platforms in the best condition as they could, as their religion permitted them not to destroy anything. We should be more like the Aboriginal people who respected the land more and helped keep the rock platforms clean. I hope you enjoyed watching my documentary. Thank you.